Welcome to our mostly unscripted and unedited podcast. I'm Paula Kidd, nutritionist.
And I'm her sister-in-law and bestie, Sarah Kidd.
We love discussing all things related to health, including mindset, self-care, and nutrition.
Join us as we share coffee, laughs, recipes, and random thoughts tossed in for good measure.
You'll leave each conversation feeling motivated and with actionable strategies that you can use right away to improve your health and help you stop feeling fat, foggy, and fatigued.
See you there.
Welcome back. This is our third episode in a series about busting excuses. So in this one, we're talking about how sometimes people will say, when we describe this lower carb way of eating, we usually suggest that people avoid certain fruits and vegetables that are very high in sugar, high in starch, because sometimes they lead to that blood sugar roller coaster, which I'll talk about in this episode. But some people will question whether this is a healthy way of eating. So that's what we're talking about today. Yes?
Well, yeah, I can start off by saying I was that person.
Yeah.
And I'll expand more after we share about what we're drinking, maybe.
Yeah. I was definitely that way too. Okay, so what are you drinking today?
All right. Well, what I've got here is one of my favorite mugs, the tea mug shape. I have a white one like this, and I have a Christmas one. I think I've shown that one with the penguins on it, but I love this size and shape of mug. Inside, and the color obviously is actually my favorite color. And I don't know if I can show you. I can kind of show you.
Yeah.
So it's and again, here's another word that I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly or not.
Yeah.
I think it's pronounced pu'er.
Yeah.
It's a tea, and I believe it's fermented under the ground or something. I'm not sure if that's right because it does have a kind of an earthy taste. So I might be mixing that up. I know it's fermented somewhere, and it's a black tea, but it gives a different flavor. It's a very earthy flavor that pairs really well with chocolate flavors, actually. So it's a David's tea in my mug. It's called chocolate hazelnut. And when you open the bag and smell it, I can't describe how good it smells. It smells like chocolate hazelnut cake.
Yeah.
And it's just a really robust, like rich, flavorful black tea. One of my favorites for sure. I put a splash of milk in it, and it gets almost like a reddish tone. I don't know if I said that already, but I find that regular black tea has almost like a grayish brown tone, and this is much more reddish. Anyway, it's really good.
Excellent.
What are you drinking?
So this is really hilarious, but this happens with Sarah and I all the time, is that we are thinking about the same thing, doing the same thing, talking about the same thing, even though we were separated by many, many kilometers. And anyways, we just think very similarly. So I am also having a pu'er tea from David's Tea, and it's the hot chocolate one.
Oh, my other favorite.
Yeah, I think you introduced this to me.
It's so good.
It is so good. And so I made kind of like a latte with it. So it's half boiling water, and then I used my milk frother again and did cream and almond milk. And so that's what I'm drinking. So it's still, you make it like tea, but it tastes kind of like hot chocolate.
Yes.
Delicious. And this mug is a mug that my dad gave me for Christmas a few years ago. It's a pottery, so handmade, and it's really super heavy. And I'm actually kind of worried about dropping it, and I don't let anyone else in the family use it because if it's going to break, I want to be the one to break it. I don't want anyone else to break it.
You don't want anyone else to experience the rage and the blame.
That's right.
Of it being broken.
Take it all on myself. At some point in my life, it's going to break. I just know. But I want to be the one to do it. And so it's a very heavy, substantial mug. And so I'm enjoying. I feel a bit chilled today, so that's why I was getting hot chocolate. So there you go. That's so funny that we're both drinking David's Tea pu'er chocolate things. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the best way to go. So I recommend highly the hot chocolate tea. I also recommend highly the chocolate hazelnut. It is so good.
I've not tried that.
Yes, you should definitely make a plan to try that. And can we just go back to the mug breaking thing for just a second? I have a sad story about our last podcast when I shared the water that I was drinking in one of my favorite water glasses, and it was the one that had the bubbles and the blue and everything. During the podcast, actually, see, I discovered that part of the rim was chipped, and in fact, I got a piece of glass in my mouth, and I was trying to be really discreet about it. But if you're wondering why I put my fingers in my mouth, it's because I found some glass in there. And this is why we don't let our family members touch our favorite glasses and mugs, because we want to be the one that breaks it, or, we don't want to inflict our feelings on anybody else.
Yes.
So I'm really sad about that. And I'm pretty sure someone else washed it, which was nice of them, but they should probably not even wash any of my mugs or favorite cups, because risky.
Or they'll put things in the dishwasher that should not go in a dishwasher. Like those color changing mugs that we like. You cannot put those in the dishwasher. That will ruin them. Anyway.
I feel like we should stop talking about it now before we get really sad.
We're getting sidetracked. We're trying to keep these episodes short. I'm not sure how successful we've been so far, but anyhow. Okay, so we were talking about people's perspective that perhaps avoiding fruits and vegetables, as we sometimes suggest, certain types of fruits and vegetables that are high in sugar and starch, wondering how healthy this is. So we're going to talk about how we talk about this. This is very meta, right?
It is. And can I start us off before we talk about how we talk about it? This is how I did talk about it. I'm quoting myself. I said things like, what I can't eat in a way that restricts my vegetables and fruit intake. I'm trying to eat more vegetables and fruit. I already don't eat enough of those things. This makes no sense at all and can't possibly be healthy.
Right.
End quote.
Right. So let's give some examples so people know what we're talking about if they're new to our world. So So all fruits and vegetables are carbohydrates, right? Some have more carbohydrate content and some have less. And it also has to do with the amount of fiber that is in that food. And essentially what we're trying to keep our blood sugar balanced. We're trying to keep it low and stable so that we don't have this high and low blood sugar, which is what happens when you eat high carb foods. So certain fruits and vegetables will spike the blood sugar more than others. And so we are just suggesting that you sort of limit those foods, eat them at the right time of day so that it doesn't trigger that blood sugar roller coaster. And the idea is that you can still have those foods in your life, but it's about the portion and about the timing and the pairing. So we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah.
So examples would be, so fruit would be like apples are fairly high in sugar. Different varieties have different amounts of sugar. So some people will say, well, why can't I eat an apple or a banana, right? Or potatoes or sweet potatoes or any of those squashes and root vegetables that are higher in starch. So that's kind of what we're talking about today. Did you have something to say?
Oh, I always have things to say, and I'm just like trying to catch all of the flying thoughts that are in my head. But yeah, I mean, we're answering the why and the when and the how, right? And that's important. It's not just, oh, don't eat these things. We need to really understand what we're doing and why we're doing it, because it's not about being restrictive as much as it may sound and feel that way, especially if you're coming into this new. That's not at all what we're trying to do, is it?
Right. We don't want people to feel restricted. And as I mentioned earlier, like it's not, you're never going to eat these foods again. It's just about shifting your perspective. And so shifting the perspective and shifting the proportion and the ratio of these foods that you eat in conjunction or in relation to other foods.
And the timing as well, right?
All that timing. Yeah. So let's start with just changing the language about. So instead of saying like, I can't eat potatoes or I can't eat apples on this eating plan or whatever, we're changing it and thinking about all of the foods that you can eat and all of the benefits that you're getting from those foods, right?
Yes, exactly.
So really, just focusing on all of the wonderful things that you can eat that will serve your body better. And really that's what it's all about. So
yeah. And I mean, it's like, it makes me think of how we look at life. If we spend all our time thinking about all the things we don't have or haven't done or can't do, well, what kind of motivation are we going to have? How are we going to think about ourselves and about the world around us, right? Whereas if we take a grateful standpoint and think about all the things we do have and all the things we can do and all the things that we have available to us, that just shifts our perspective. It doesn't change reality. It changes how we look at reality. And that's really the only thing we can change.
Right.
And I mean, I'm going to choose to see the glass half full if I have the option, because that's just much more fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the timing of eating these foods. So
Okay.
what the very first thing that I do with my clients is we look at what they're eating for breakfast, because your body's response to carbohydrate intake, and which means that you're digesting the carbohydrates and then that's releasing sugar into your blood. That's what's supposed to happen. And then your body has to do something with that sugar. You either use it right away, your muscles will use it, or it has to be stored. It will be stored in your liver, be stored in your muscles, and anything that's left over that can't fit into those two places is going to be stored as fat. Okay, that's just what happens with everybody. But first thing in the morning, your response to that is very sensitive and maybe somewhat exaggerated. So your pancreas releases insulin, which is a hormone that does this job of storing. And it's super important because you don't want sugar lingering in your blood for too long. It's actually can be inflammatory, toxic. It's not good for you. And ultimately, it leads to type 2 diabetes, right? Insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes. So when you have carbohydrates, high sugar foods first thing in the morning, doesn't matter if it's a fruit, vegetable, or a Danish, whatever people eat for breakfast, you suddenly have high blood sugar. Your body digests a carbohydrate, sugar is released into the blood, insulin has to be released to clear it out of the blood. But your pancreas like overreacts first thing in the morning because you're typically in a fasted state, unless you've eaten throughout the night. You're waking up after having slept for 6 to 8 hours. You haven't eaten, so you're in a fasted state. So your body's like primed and ready for those carbohydrates. So your pancreas releases a lot of insulin, and so it does its job very, very quickly, clears the sugar out of your blood, and then you're left with low blood sugar. And when that happens, you start to feel tired, you feel lethargic, maybe you have brain fog, your appetite increases, your cravings increase, and basically your body is in survival mode. It's trying to get you to bring that blood sugar back up a little bit, because we do need a little bit in there. So it tells you to go and find some food, and typically it's carbohydrates that you're craving. And so you eat the carbs, then your blood sugar is high again. So it's this blood sugar roller coaster. So we want to avoid high carb foods first thing in the morning because of this exaggerated response. So if you want to have an apple, save it for later in the day. Your body will still need to release insulin to clear the sugar out of the blood, but there won't be such a dramatic response. So you won't trigger that blood sugar roller coaster. And a lot of people will find that if they have higher carb foods at dinner time and just a small portion, like say half a cup of sweet potato or something like that, they actually sleep better at night. Your body uses carbohydrates differently later in the day and as it prepares for sleep as compared to first thing in the morning. So in terms of timing, that's what I recommend.
I love that. I mean, just the other day, I had some sweet potato mixed with other roast vegetables with my meat dish. And I mean, I just savored every bite. It was delicious. And yeah, I have no trouble getting to sleep. I mean, I don't have trouble sleeping generally, but I do find I sleep well,
Yeah.
especially if I'm doing that later in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's with timing. And then pairing is another thing. So when you pair a higher carb food with fat or protein, because fat and protein require a different process for digesting and metabolizing, it slows down the release of sugar into your blood. So if you wanted to have an apple, if you paired it with some fat or protein, so something like cheese or a nut butter or something like that, that slows down the release of sugar. So again, you don't have that dramatic response in requiring your pancreas to release insulin and clear the blood of the sugar, and then leading to low blood sugar. So pairing. And I know we mentioned some other recipe suggestions. Did you want to talk about that, Sarah?
Well, yeah, I mean, I love apple and cheese. That flavor pairing is so nice. So for a snack, later in the day as well. I love apple. I mean, you gave me this idea, but with cashew butter and cinnamon, it kind of tastes almost like apple pie. The cashew butter has a kind of a buttery, cashews are kind of buttery flavored.
Yeah.
And it really lends itself to, you feel like you're eating something for dessert. And when your taste buds are adjusted to having less sugar as a rule in general, those things that are sweet, but we don't necessarily think about them being sweet, become much more sweet to us, sweet tasting to us. And so, and I mean, then there's the benefit of being full for longer. I mean, I love the idea of knowing I can have a delicious, some delicious apple slices with cheese or with nut butter, and then know that I'm going to be good for a couple of hours before I'm starting to feel hungry, as
Right.
opposed to an hour later, you might feel hungry because we digest fruit faster than nuts, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that's another good idea. Also, I guess we're kind of focusing on apples. That is the question that I get from a lot of people. Is apples and bananas. Like, I want to eat
Mhm.
apples and bananas, right? Not necessarily to get, that sounds like a song.
It is a song, actually. I immediately started playing the song in my head. I'm pretty sure Sharon Lois and Bram
Yeah.
did this song, and it's about vowel sounds.
Yeah,
So
I like
we
to
could sing it,
eat
or yeah,
apples and bananas, something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yep.
So I love apple crisp. That is to me, it's a comfort food. It's delicious. I love the smell of in my kitchen when it's baking.
Ooh.
So there are some alternatives to, and when you're talking about it like an apple crisp, that there's like the crumble topping is very high in carbs, right? So you can reduce the carbohydrate amount by substituting all or some of the oats with like hemp seed or something like that. You can
Mm.
still do the butter, you can do the cinnamon, and then doing a better alternative to the sugar. So, like the brown sugar swerve, you don't need very much. So, you could
No, you
make
don't.
it like that, or you could just do a single baked apple. I will sometimes core an apple and then stuff it with hemp seed, brown sugar, or the swerve brown sugar and butter, and then bake it in the air fryer, my favorite tool, for like 10 minutes. And it's delicious. And it tastes just like it's satisfying in the same way that that apple crisp is, but with fewer carbs.
Yeah, and it's more filling, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
I want to come back to that because I like the feeling of being full and satisfied, not full and a bit sick because I ate a lot or because it was really full of sugar or it was bloating. I want to feel full and satisfied, and I can't stress enough how great that feeling is.
Yes, absolutely. And the other thing too about incorporating these foods, the root vegetables and the potatoes and all of those things, we want to emphasize that we don't want people to feel deprived, because if you feel deprived, it's like it becomes this psychological craving that you won't be able to stop thinking about the food, right? So
Yeah.
make sure you do include those foods if you love them in your diet, but maybe change the portion size, change the ratio to the other foods. So like I love French fries. And so if you could make like a better quality French fry in your air fryer, like with real potatoes, leaving the skin on, so you're getting more fiber in there, using the air fryer instead of like some rancid oil in a deep fryer that's been overused and it's damaged. So that would be a way to get healthier fries into your life. But then change the portion size. So instead of having half a plate of fries, you have like quarter of a plate of fries, or you just have a small handful and you pair it with other high quality nutritious foods, good quality meats, good quality fats, lots of veggies. You can still enjoy that food, but it's more health promoting and helps you to stick to your goal.
Absolutely. I mean, just to to go back to the sweet potato that I had mixed in with other vegetables with my meal, I didn't have a lot, but it was enough that I felt like I had a lot. And it was delicious and I savored every bite. And it didn't cause the same sort of spikes and cravings for other carbs that are less healthy. It didn't cause those same reactions in my body, which is what I'm really one of the things I'm working to eliminating from my life, right?
Yeah.
Is these intense cravings that kind of hit you and you feel out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, when your plate has a quarter of French fries, it's not like it's a quarter of French fries and then, a quarter of something else and that's it. And you feel like I haven't eaten anything. You've got half your plate full of something else delicious, right? Something like your favorite salad, and so you are still filling yourself full of nutritious food and you're still enjoying it and you're not feeling deprived.
Yeah.
I mean, let's now talk about all the things that we can eat. Let's focus less on, I love this idea of eating less of it. So, for example, actually, before I move on to talking about what we can eat, I love a smoothie in the morning for breakfast often. And one of the things a banana does is it sweetens a smoothie and it provides that really thick, wonderful texture that you want in a smoothie. Bananas are kind of a staple in almost all smoothie recipes if you look on Pinterest. But if you substitute some avocado, you're going to get that same creamy texture and you're going to get that full feeling. You're going to get the healthy fats you need. And then you find another way to add some sweetness to it. It's not a strong flavor. Avocados are fairly mild. So you're not noticing it in the smoothie. You're not putting very much in it. So, I mean, like, this is something I don't find myself missing bananas, and if I really do want banana, why not just share a banana with somebody? Cut it in, put a quarter of a frozen banana that's overripe into my smoothie to boost that flavor and give that something that I want extra, that I'm missing or whatever.
Yeah.
But and let's talk about all the things that we can have. I mean, berries are a great low carb option, right? Fruit option.
Yeah, especially paired with whipped cream.
Woo!
Homemade whipped cream. So delicious.
I mean, I'm never not putting some kind of berry in my smoothie, number one. And berries are delicious, whether they're simmered into like a berry sauce or whether they're mixed with other berries in yogurt or with whipped cream, as you said, when they come in season. I mean, here where we live, we get blueberries in season, we get strawberries in season, raspberries. I'm sure there's lots of other berries I can mention.
Mm-hmm.
I don't spend a lot of time thinking about all the fruits I can't have.
Right. Just focus on the ones that you can eat. Yeah. And as you're talking, something came into my head. If you think about, I'm going back to the apples again. So
it's okay.
I've felt myself thinking this, and I like this. I find maybe you'll find this helpful. So because I love apple crisp so much, and I feel like that would be a treat, right? Because it would be higher in carbs, especially traditionally made. But now think about, say, after dinner one day, I'm craving sweets, I'm craving dessert. It would be much healthier for me to just go and make a healthy apple crisp or alternative and eat that than to eat like a donut or a bag of chips or some other thing that maybe in the past I would have gravitated towards in terms of the sweet. So even though I'm not suggesting that apples are forbidden, but it's something that we might not want to be eating every day, apple crisp, right? So that could still be considered a treat, but now it's a healthier treat. So now you've elevated your treats into you're getting fruit, like you're still getting nutrition from that food. It's not like it's a piece of garbage junk food that maybe you have eaten in the past, right? So it's funny now. I would look forward to eating a baked apple, and it feels like I'm indulging, and I am in a certain way, but I'm still providing my body with some great nutrition, right? So it's a shifting of a mindset there, and my family sometimes thinks I'm crazy that I would like, oh, like I'm gonna have a treat, I'm gonna have a baked apple. They're like, what? What do you mean? Why aren't you having chips or why aren't you having ice cream like that? If you're gonna have a treat, I'm like, no, this is what I want. It's delicious, and so all right. So I think that's it. That's all. We covered this whole topic. So we're talking about, foods that when we're taking out higher carb fruits and veggies, sometimes people are concerned that this is not a healthy way of eating. And we're just suggesting that you change your perspective on it a little bit. You make sure that you're still including those foods in your diet if you enjoy them, but changing the timing, the pairing, the portion size, and also just focusing on all the foods that you can eat that are bringing nutrition and health into your life, and not focusing on things that you are maybe trying to avoid. We don't want people to feel deprived, so it's about including those things in a smart way. I guess you could call them like smart carbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Let's call them that. Here, I know what we probably are going over the time that we want these to be, but I want to play a quick game with you where we just list back and forth all the fruits and vegetables. Let's just stick with that for now. Fruits and vegetables that we can have and enjoy in as often as we want, right?
okay.
So like blackberries,
Strawberries,
blueberries.
raspberries,
Now my brain wants to go to vegetables, but zucchini.
yes. Carrots, but cut in a mandolin slicer so they're like chips. So good for like dipping. I love that.
Radishes also the
Yes.
same thing. Great for
Yes.
dipping.
Yes.
And I grate my carrots into my salad. So I'm not having tons of carrot, but I'm getting carrot flavor all through my salad.
Yeah. Delicious.
And I'm enjoying the benefits of carrots.
Yeah. Snap peas. I love snap peas.
Okay, yeah. Baby spinach.
Yes. Well, romaine, but like as a folder for all of the other delicious things like taco meat.
Yeah.
Right? Or fajitas.
And cheese.
Or cheese.
Green onions.
Yeah. All those things. Yeah.
Yeah. Cauliflower.
Oh,
Broccoli.
yes. Cauliflower, broccoli. Yes.
Cucumbers.
Well, and cauliflower rice. Like
cauliflower rice.
for like all kinds of things. In soup, in casseroles, in
And I like the flavor better than regular rice.
I love mashed cauliflower too. Do you like mashed cauliflower?
I do not like mashed cauliflower. Maybe we need to
Gosh.
challenge. Maybe I need to challenge you to make me a mashed cauliflower I like. I don't know. It's probably possible, but I've never made it and liked it.
Oh, see, I love it with gravy, like just like you would make mashed potatoes.
Mhm,
Like I don't know, there's something about I find that so comforting and delicious. Yeah. Anyhow, yes. Another great one is the daikon. So that's it's in the radish family, but it's shaped like more like a parsnip, I guess. So it's long and it's narrower at one end. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen it?
I've heard you talk about it. But I've never seen
Okay.
one or used it in cooking.
And they're white inside and out, and they're fairly large. Well, you can get them all different sizes, but they're like a lower carb alternative to like something I use it in clam chowder. So instead of potatoes, so you can cut them into chunks and it gets soft but holds its shape like a potato would. It's great. I've made scalloped potatoes with that, and my kids love it. So
Rutabaga,
yes,
another low carb root
love
vegetable.
rutabaga.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love mashed rutabaga with some nutmeg. Oh my goodness. And it
Yeah.
tastes like it's been sweetened
Yes.
when you really cook it and get it. And I love having it mashed, actually. I like that a lot better than cauliflower in that form, but I love cauliflower in all its other forms. Raw, steamed.
Yeah.
Baked with cheese.
Yes. baked with
Roasted.
cheese.
Riced. I could go on.
I love jerk cauliflower. So just jerk seasoning and olive oil
Yum.
roasted in the oven. So
Yum.
delicious.
Yep.
I mean, at a restaurant once and somebody ordered it and I thought, that doesn't even appeal to me. And I ate it and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm never eating cauliflower any other way. I mean, I do, but it's one of my go-tos and it's so easy. Yeah. Delicious.
There's got to be more.
Yeah.
I feel like
we gave our audience a good selection, but maybe we could make a list. Well, then,
that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I think too, we didn't mention the things that are fine to enjoy in moderation, but just to be mindful of the portions and the time of day that you eat them.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, listeners. And we'll see you in the next episode. We will continue tackling our excuses, busting those excuses. All right. Bye for now.
See you then.
Yes.